Dear students, let me welcome you to the journey of democratic politics. The last year, we have discussed and learnt about what is democracy and why democracy, constitutional design, electoral politics, working of institutions, and democratic rights. In this year, we are going to learn 5 more units. The first unit is power sharing. In this unit, we discuss about how an intelligent sharing of power is very important to the design of democracy, and how democracies handle demands for power sharing and the need for power sharing in democracy. And at last, and what are the important forms of power sharing in modern democracies? These are the 4 important elements or issues of the concept we are going to discuss in this unit. Let us begin a lesson with important terms being used in this lesson so that we can understand our discussion better. There are 4 to 5 important terms are the glossary words being used here. First one, ethnic. A social division based on shared culture. People belonging to the same ethnic group believe in their common descent because of similarities of physical type or of culture or both. They need not always have same religion or nationality. This is first concept. And second concept is a belief that the majority community should be able to rule a country in whichever way it wants by disregarding the wishes and needs of the minority. This is the second concept. Normally, any country constitute of 2 communities, majority and minority, and majority community need to include or need to accommodate the minority community in case if they disregard and take the measures or the policies in favor of them, that is referred as majoritarianism. Next we have civil war. Next we have prudential. Uh, it is based on prudence or on careful calculation of gains or losses. Prudential decisions are usually contrasted with decisions based on moral consideration. For example, if you are taking a decision, and if before that taking a decision, one can carefully calculate the gains and losses or the advantages and disadvantages. Based on number of advantages or the disadvantages or the gains and losses, no decision can be taken. Such decisions are called prudential decisions. As every lesson in ninth standard begin with 2 live examples, and here also we can start a lesson with 2 countries. First one is Belgium. Belgium consists of 2 regions. You can see here, this is Flemish region, yellow color, and this red color is called Walloon region. In Walloon region, French speaking people are there. In Flemish region, Dutch speaking people are there. The capital of the country is Brussels, and it lies in Flemish region. And in the eastern part, in this region, you can see German speaking people. And at the same time, you can this part. No, let me introduce the neighboring countries of Belgium. This area where moving the cursor, here you can see the Germany. In this part, you can see Luxembourg. Here you can see France, and the northern part you can see Netherlands. These are the neighboring countries of Belgium. This is the situation. And most important thing to discuss here, the Flemish people do constitute means Dutch speaking people do constitute 59%, whereas Walloon people who are speaking French constitute 40%. And another important aspect here, the French people are relatively rich and powerful, and the Walloon people have got the benefit of economic development education quite later uh, in their country. This is one thing. The same points, let me recall, it is similar to Haryana. The population is 1 crore, 1 crore, and it has a complex ethnic composition, that is social division based on shared culture. And in Walloon region, 40% French speaking people are there. They are relatively rich and powerful. And in Flemish region, Dutch speaking people are there and they constitute 59%. They got benefit of economic development and education much later compared to French speaking people. And Brazil has a extremely different situation where 80% French are there and 20% Dutch. In a country, Dutch are 59%, but in Brazil, Dutch people are 20%. And tension is very acute in capital because of this composition. This ethnic composition has resulted in sort of tension in 1950s and 60s in Belgium. And neighboring countries already mentioned: Netherlands, Germany, Luxembourg, and France. Okay, now let me introduce another country here, that is Sri Lanka. It is India's neighboring country, and we have a reference of Sri Lanka even in Ramayana. Indians are quite familiar with this country. And look at this country. This eastern part, let me introduce this uh, red color or maroon color, eastern part, Sri Lankan Tamilians are living. And inside, there are some dark circles there, Muslim people are there. And southern region, in this dark brown, there Indian Tamils are there. And remaining yellow region, they are called Sinhalese. This is a population composition of Sri Lanka. Now what happened? It is an island nation with 2 crore population. Population is very diverse here. Sinhalese, who are native Sri Lankans, speak 74%. They constitute 13%. Indian Tamils constitutes 5%. And Sinhalese normally follow Buddhism, whereas Tamilians follow Hinduism or Islam. Now the question is, what could happen in these situations? In Belgium, Dutch may take advantage. In Sri Lanka, Sinhalese may impose its views on others. Now we'll see what decisions, the measures are being taken by Sri Lanka. No, after the measures taken by Sri Lankans are referred as majoritarian measures. In Sri Lanka, Sinhalese sought dominance over minorities. Sinhalese have decided to dominate over minorities, that is Tamilians. And elected government adopted majoritarian measures to establish Sinhala supremacy. It is the government itself has decided to take certain measures so that they can dominate in the country. The first one, in 1956, act has been passed in Sri Lanka, and that act has made Sinhala as an official language. And the second important majoritarian measure is uh, preferential policies in university positions and government jobs. Sinhalese have been given the preference in university positions and government jobs. And the constitution of Sri Lanka has decided to protect and foster Buddhism, whereas Tamilians follow Islam and Hinduism. These are the three important majoritarian measures taken by Sri Lankan elected government. And what is the impact of this? And those measures have created a feeling of alienation among Sri Lankan Tamilians. Sri Lankans felt that they are no more uh, being given an importance in Sri Lanka. And Sinhalese parties are not sensitive to Tamil language and culture. And constitution and government denies equal political rights, jobs and opportunities to the citizens who are the part of that country's citizenship. They are the citizens of that country, but they have been denied equal opportunities, political rights, jobs in their country. And this denial has created a sort of tension, stripes in Sri Lanka, and there have been resulted in strained relations between Sri Lankans, Sinhalese, and Tamilians. And as a result of this, Sri Lankan Tamilians have decided to launch parties and struggles for recognition of Tamil as an official language. They started demanding few things to the elected Sinhalese government. The first demand of Tamilian was they want Tamil as an official language along with Sinhalese. The second one is regional autonomy. As we have already seen in the picture, the Tamilians are living in northern and eastern part of Sri Lanka, and they are demanding separate autonomy so that they can segregate from Sinhalese and form a separate identity. And they're demanding for equality of opportunities, jobs and education, in university jobs and education in the country. These are the three demands raised by Sri Lankan Tamils to the Sinhalese government. But these demands, especially the demand of autonomy, has been repeatedly denied by Sinhalese government. In 1980s, political organizations have been formed in Sri Lanka, and they have demanded for separate state, that is Tamil. No, they wanted that particular region, eastern and northern region, as a separate state in Sri Lanka, and it has resulted in distrust and widespread conflict between Sri Lankan Sinhalese and Tamilians, led to civil war. And you know what is that civil war is all about? It is a violent conflict between opposing groups within a country that becomes so intense that it appears like a war. And thousands of people from both sides, Sinhalese and Tamilians, have been killed. And Tamilians have been forced to leave the country. And in fact, many Tamilians have lost their livelihood. And this civil war has become a terrible setback for Sri Lankan development, mainly in social, economic, and cultural life. In fact, compared to neighboring countries, compared to India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka has a better human development index, which we have studied in first lesson in development economics. And it has a better human development index, but this civil war has resulted a lot of disturbance to the development process in Sri Lanka. Now let us see what happened in Belgium. That is what happened in Sri Lanka, how the national leaders have taken decisions to accommodate social divisions being present in Sri Lanka. Now let us see what national leaders have decided in Belgium. But in Belgium, the national leaders took a very different path. That path is something different from Sri Lankan national leaders. They have decided to recognize regional differences and cultural diversity existing in Belgium. Between 1970 to 1993, Belgium national leaders have amended constitution 4 times to work out an arrangement so that they can live together. This constitution arrangement is for what? To put an effort to stay together, live together, to respect the social differences, social divisions, and the regional diversity being present and linguistic diversity being present in Belgium. And finally, they came with a very innovative and special arrangement that is also referred as Belgian model. And let us see what is there in Belgium model. First one, Constitution prescribes number of Dutch and French speaking ministers shall be equal in central government. This is very important development. Though the French are minority and Dutch are majority, but majority Dutch people in Belgium have decided to give up approximately 10% more powers to the French who are in 40%, so that the number of Dutch ministers, number of French speaking ministers shall be equal in central government. You know, this is very important decision being taken by them, and special laws are required to support the majority in the country. And second important element of Belgian model is powers are given to the state government, and state governments are not subordinate to the central government. Earlier, all the powers are were uh, given to central government, and Belgium was a unitary government. In fact, it was not a federal government. And after amendments, the national leaders have decided to make Belgium as a federal government by giving separate powers to the state government. Now, state governments have got a separate powers; they are not subordinate to the central government. And third important thing is Brussels has a separate government, even where uh, 20% Dutch and 80% French are there. Even they have decided to give equal powers, equal number of powers were given to both the communities, and it has got a separate government. The most important part of Belgian model is community government, which is elected by people belonging to one language community, and this government has the power regarding cultural, educational, and language related issues. And French has got separate French community government, Dutch has got Dutch community government. They can protect their culture, they can attend their educational issues, they can attend their language issues. These are the most important elements of Belgian model. Why power sharing is desirable? Why different countries need to share power to different social divisions, social regional divisions in the country, and what is the impact of that in the outcomes of that country. First one, we shall discuss about prudential reason. In the beginning, we have already seen prudence is all about taking decisions on the basis of careful calculation of gains and losses. Before taking any decisions, make a statement and write the losses of particular decisions and write the gains of that particular decisions, or write the advantages and disadvantages. If the gains are more, and you can take the decision. And always the gains are more when different countries have decided to share powers to minorities or the different social groups. And when majority communities decided to accommodate the minority communities, it always helps in reducing the possibility of conflict between social groups. And the second one, and you can see that in every country, there is no country where you cannot find a majority and minority. In every country, social divisions do exist, and how majority treat, how majority accommodate, accept, and address the issues of minorities, and how majority respect the minorities, and how majority uh, accommodate the minorities makes huge difference in the country's destiny, because whenever the countries have decided to accommodate minorities, and that has resulted in unity of the country, and whenever they have decided to dominate, that has resulted in stripes, that has resulted in strained relations, that has resulted in distrust and civil wars. And second one is a moral reason. Why power sharing is required? Morally, power sharing is the very spirit of democracy. Democracies are known for this very important strength, or you can say that advantages. Democracies are best form of government in accommodate social diversity. Democracies are best form of government to enhance individual dignity, and it is very a noble value in democratic setup. And that is why power sharing is the very spirit of democracy. It naturally happens in democratic countries, and that is the moral reason, the second important thing. Next we have, what are the different forms of power sharing in modern democracies? There are four important forms of power sharing in modern democracies. The first one, power sharing among different organs of the government. Now, you know that in any country, any government, we have three organs: legislative, executive, and judiciary. And these three organs are in same level, but they have different powers. You cannot compare legislative, executive, and judiciary with respect to consider, with respect to identify which is more powerful and which is less powerful. They all lie in the same level, but they have different powers, and they are independent in the country. And because of that, the power sharing among different organs of the government is also referred as horizontal distribution of powers, because powers are distributed horizontally and independent, though they are same level, but independent powers are there. And the second one, each organ can check the powers of others. Legislative can check the powers of executive, executive can check the powers of judiciary, judiciary can check the powers of executive and legislature. This is how they check each other powers and balances. And because of that, the power sharing among different organs of the government is also referred as system of checks and balances. This is the first form of power sharing. Next, we have second form of power sharing. That is power sharing among different levels of the government. That is also referred as vertical distribution of powers. If you go to any country, there you can notice one important thing. There can be one level, two or three levels of government. And if all the powers are with central government, that we know that called unitary government. But most of the countries are showing interest to uh, distribute their powers to other levels of the government, and that is why nowadays we can see more number of federal countries are coming up. And if the powers are distributed between central government, state government, and local government, that is called vertical distribution of power, because normally central government tend to have more powers compared to state government, and state government have more powers compared to local government. And this is the second form of power sharing. Next, we have power sharing among different social groups. Example, in Belgium we have Dutch and French speaking people, and Dutch has got Dutch community government and French has got French community government. That is very good example for the no power sharing among social groups. And in India we have constitutional and legal arrangement in the form of reserved constituencies. In India, scheduled caste and scheduled tribe communities have been given powers in the form of reserved constituencies in the government. That is very good example for giving powers to different social groups. Next, we have political parties. Fourth form of power sharing is political parties, pressure groups, and movements. Example, coalition government. In recent times, no party in central and state is able to form the government without the support of other political parties. Because of that, in the central government, we have a coalition government. Uh, the two important, the what we can say that coalition parties are BJP and Congress. And BJP coalition parties are called NDA, National Democratic Alliance. Congress political alliance was called UPA, in fact, United Progressive Alliance. Recently, they have changed the name into INDIA. So much of discussion is going on. And similarly, different states have a coalition government where one more than one party has formed an alliance and formed the government. That is one thing. Second is pressure groups. Different pressure groups can also get the powers and movements also. And mainly these in pressure groups are similar with interest groups. Mainly, you can see that uh, in different countries, different moment of time, different moments in different areas. It can be environmental movement. It can be um, social movement or cultural movement do take place. Even those movements have been identified, and those issues have been given importance in democratic setup. So this is all about four forms of power sharing. And now you think it of, generally this power sharing concept can have more, that you can discuss power sharing, word beyond textbook context. And power can be gained by sharing of it, because as sharing of power is also means sharing of a responsibility. Intelligent sharing of power is finest way of improving efficiency. When you share power, you are not losing power, you are gaining power by improving the efficiency. So let's say responsibility in different context of life too. And let me conclude the lesson with, let's share the power, let's share the responsibility, let increase the efficiency, and let gain more power after increasing efficiency in different context of life. Thank you. Have a good day and good time. We'll continue our discussion with federalism.